All right. Today we are talking about your unconscious, upgrading your unconscious to achieve maximum results. This is a topic that I love because it's the area where magic happens. And I know this after working with tons of clients. And then, so what I know is after working with over 1,500 clients, most of them are high level clients, that your unconscious can rip you off more than any online scam. And you know those scams that you're reading some topic online that's really interesting to you and you're clicking through, and before you know it, you're subscribed and you owe a ton of money to something and you can't get out of it. Trust me, your unconscious is worse. The reason I say that is the simple version of it is as you grow up, you're living life, you're being exposed to all sorts of stimuli, and you're filtering that information in, through the conscious mind. And so your mind doesn't get overwhelmed. What it does, it filters the information, and in that filtering process, it does a couple different things. It deletes information so you don't get overwhelmed. It distorts information. It generalizes information. And so what that means to you is that that's fertile ground to develop a number of beliefs that don't serve you. And so, and the crazy thing about that process is that you're being scammed by the process. You're not even aware of some of the crazy beliefs that your unconscious is linking up as it's filtering all this information and stimuli in the world. It gets developed. The good news is for some people, their mind or their environment does a better job of filtering the information. They come up with a lot of empowering beliefs. So anyway, what I do with my clients is when I'm working with a client is typically they're coming in because there's an area that they're underperforming in. And so I like to sort of narrow it in a specific area because you can have crazy belief in different areas of your life. And we work on the area that they're coming in for. And so they might be, let's say, they come in and say, hey, Gary, I struggle with following through on my work or whatever it might be, or I sabotage myself anytime I deal with money. So we take a defined area. And once we know the area they're struggling with, I have a technique that's not new, but it's just highly effective. And that technique is a process I use where I have the client breathe through their heart. And what I find is by having them breathe through the heart, it allows me to get direct access and quick access to their unconscious without their unconscious filtering it and giving me things that they think sounds good. And so we get them in the heart, and I find this is the area where I get my greatest breakthroughs with clients. And I'll just give you one brief example but I've got several of them, is I'm working with this client. He's a Harvard MBA. He works in the investment banking industry, and he's massively underperforming. And he had worked with a ton of coaches, and they're doing all these different processes, and he never improves. And so I get in, I start digging in, and I have him breathe through his heart, and I'm just asking questions, I'm digging around. And the short story is this: we found one core belief that made all the difference. It's the difference that made all the difference. And he had a core belief that he felt that if he made more money than his father, who he respected at the highest level, that he'd be a discredit to his dad. And the challenge was his dad had been retired about 10 years, so he's on the old income scale. But additionally, his dad was in academia, so never made that much. And this guy is in investment banking that has these opportunities to make these massive amounts of money, but he's not doing it. So we identify that belief, we destroy that belief, and now he's kicking butt. So I'll just briefly go through the next couple steps that we do to sort of break these unconscious beliefs so you can achieve at a higher level. So once once the belief or beliefs are identified, is what I do is I I create massive doubt in those unconscious beliefs. And when I say really the truth is I have the client do it as well. It's it's an equal partnership in this process. And so typically I'll start with is once we identify the belief or beliefs that are crazy beliefs, is I will give that client a series of questions and with very specific instructions where they have to dig in and challenge these unconscious beliefs because that's the reason why they stay there, because one, people are not aware they have them, and two, they've never been challenged, they're accepted as the truth. And so, for example, one of the questions I always have them ask is, well, let's say they go, I'm not worthy of money. Well, ask the question, well, is that true? Did I have all the information possible to know when I formed that belief? Did you even have a conscious awareness that you formed that belief? But did you have all the information available to know whether that's a legitimate belief or not? And you really get them uncertain in the belief. By taking it a couple steps further, is I will then ask and have them come and we'll schedule like about an hour call where I will freaking ask questions, digging in each other way, because I have a belief that, well, one, clients always come in and say, well, that belief's ingrained. They try to sell you on that can't change, which is totally baloney. And I have a core belief that says, no matter how big the tree of certainty of the belief is, if you keep chopping at the base of that tree with doubt inducing questions, that tree is going to fall. And in my experience, it always does. So I will just keep digging, chopping away, chopping away, chopping away. And eventually they get uncertain in that belief, and that belief will fall. Yet, the other part you have to know about the unconscious is the unconscious loves certainty. It doesn't want to give up, even though the client is aware that the belief is ridiculous. I get these really successful clients that have, like, I'm unworthy of success or whatever it might be. It's a total lie, total lie. But the challenge is if conscious awareness changed people, I would be out of a job because they would just make that conscious connection and make the change. So it's in the unconscious. The unconscious likes certainty, it doesn't like to change. And so the keys I've already mentioned, you've got to question it, put massive doubt in the question. Then the other part that you have to do, you have to give the unconscious a more compelling place to go than sticking with where it's at. If you don't give it that compelling place to go, it actually creates more fear for the unconscious that if I release this belief, then what's going to happen? And so what I do is the unconscious responds to stories. And so it's a cool process where I'll tell them the story. And in that story, basically, it's planting the seeds that, wow, here's my life keeping and holding on to this belief. And they get through their own internal representation, they start picturing what that life looks like holding on to the belief. So in the story that I tell them is I then go ahead and paint and plant the seeds of, what would happen? And typically I know enough about the client that I plant a couple ideas for new beliefs that would massively change their life. And then in that story, allow them to paint the picture of what life looks like adopting the new belief and letting go of the old one. So the combination of working with your unconscious and painting a more compelling vision and putting massive doubt into the old belief, what you find is you will see a shift in people. And I don't care how long they had the belief. Don't care. Doesn't matter to me. So the last phase of what will happen is then you have to then identify the new beliefs or belief that you want to incorporate. Or once you've eliminated the old belief, what's the new belief that's going to change your life? And that, I would say, is an art, is because in finding that new belief, it's often like the antithesis of the old belief. But if you just directly do the antithesis, typically the person's not going to resonate with it. They're not going to believe in it. And so we do a whole nother 1 or 2 sessions where I'm throwing out possibilities and we're doing it together and they're throwing out possibilities. And you're looking for a belief that they resonate with. I mean, it doesn't have to be the perfect belief, because it's an iterative process. It really it's an iterative process. So then what happens is we go through and we identify something, and the criteria will be, when they take that belief, they have to have a feeling that, I have some area in my life where there is some semblance of truth to that new belief. It might be from a whole other area of their life, but they take that. So, and then they also have to feel there's a feeling about where they feel it's not complete BS. Like, if the person never made more than 50,000 a year, you can't have a belief that says I'm a millionaire. That's too big a stretch. But you find something that I call them starter beliefs, that they build from. And when they have it, it makes all the difference in the world. So anyway, once we have that belief, there's a whole process that I'll use with people that I will have them go through and condition in and continue to condition in. And so eventually, all a belief is a feeling of certainty about what something means. You condition it in a way that gives that belief certainty. That new belief takes hold. There's a massive shift, and that person will totally be a new person. They will achieve things they never achieved before. And that's what I love what I do. I love it because I've seen clients, or clients come back to me and said, this is life, it's transformed my life. It's life transformational. That's what this type of work does. And I believe, as Tony Robbins does, that success is 80% psychology and 20% strategy. You definitely need strategies. Yet what I find is typically where people get hung up, well, it's all well and good to say it's psychology. The problem is most people don't know how to change psychology. They talk about it, but they don't know how to do it. And so when you can change this, you can see real results. Anyway, I hope you have an amazing rest of your week, and I look forward to our next talk. Thank you.